Harry Potter, and I am playing it with almost every free time I had. Like I said, I went into Cyberpunk, but I, I like to buy new games. Like that's just the thing in me. Like I have a compulsion where I'm like, new games, I need to buy them, and I don't know what to buy. I don't know how to judge what to buy. Like right now, we got Theater Rhythm Final Fantasy, which is the Rhythm Final Fantasy game, which I love that music.
There's another
Could be
one?
A great game. One just came out. A couple
Nice.
weeks
I
ago,
have
believe.
the original for, what is it?
I think it came out.
3DS?
Yeah, DS or 3DS. I bought that one too, and
I played
liked
it like 3
It's-
times and forgot
Oh.
about it.
Well, I mean, it's on PS5. I'm sure it's on PC. It's a good rhythm game. They have a demo, and I played that. And it's great music. Final Fantasy has some of the best music.
I do like their
You
music.
have-
Don't play the games.
Right. You have Metroid Prime Remastered, which I was looking at because Metroid Prime happens to be a game that's definitely going to be in my top 50 when we do that list. And I've heard great things about the remaster. They actually did a lot to it in terms of a remaster. And then we got something like Octopath Traveler 2. And I don't know why, but I can't pull the trigger on any of them, but I want all of them. I know I can't buy all of them because I'll never play them, and I'm still working on Hogwarts. So I'm trying to figure out your guys' mindset. What gets you to buy a game? It's that simple. Is it strictly like this was a highly reviewed game in a genre that I like, and now I got to buy it regardless of what happens? Like, what's your guys' backlogs looking like? I don't know. So I just want to hear your guys' opinion. Maybe give me a little bit of clarity so I can help make a decision for myself.
David, you want to take this one first, or should I?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and go first.
Yeah.
That's actually a good question, even like to ask myself, because I'm not quite sure. Because like besides Resident Evil, which I almost always get, except for 7, I waited 3 years because I wanted to play VR, but then I said, whatever, it's on sale. But a lot of the stuff that I've purchased lately was for us trying new games and stuff.
Right.
But I mean, Dead Space just it had a lot of good reviews. It had amazing. A lot of people were waiting for the remake. So I'm like, all right, this has to be a decent game if one, the people waiting for it is and that big of a number, and 2, it's getting a remake. Now
Yeah.
you can't always say, oh, it's getting a remake, it must be all right. But that one for sure. And I like horror type games. But besides that, I like a lot of like rhythm games. So that's like I instantly was looking for that Final Fantasy game as you were talking.
Is it on Steam?
I am still in process of looking, but it's mostly a recommendation.
Okay.
It's like I wouldn't have played Apex unless someone told me about it. I wouldn't have played Overwatch if it wasn't for my friend telling me to play it with him. I wouldn't have played half the games I bought in the last 2 years because of this podcast. And I've been amazed by quite a lot of them, honestly. So I guess for me, it's mostly recommendation.
Word of mouth.
Word of mouth.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's the top. Nice. Okay.
You want to go next, Jeremy?
Yeah. Well, my process is a little bit, maybe not even a little bit, a fairly bit more involved. The first thing that I kind of assess is, does this seem like something that I would just be interested in, just in general, just like subject matter? And then if it goes, yeah, then I need to assess for myself in regards to like what it looks like. Does it aesthetically engage me? What is the narrative component of it? Like assessing all those things. And then jumping further from that, I also look at, okay, what is like the track record of the developer? Like, does the developer usually make good games, or some games I'll just take a leap of faith on because the subject matter I really like it. I like fantasy RPGs. So yeah, when I think their name is South Peak Studios, when they pop up with 2 Worlds, I'll give it a try, right? That's probably a bad decision in hindsight, but I'll give it a try, And then I also look at time, what the investment is. That's maybe one of the things I might research first, especially if a game's like been out for a little bit. Maybe it's like new, came out maybe a week or so ago. I go and see how long is this going to take to beat this game? What's the average? That's a really big thing for me. We've talked before, last level before, about time investment. So like, what is the time? And then also I look at the price and what is the probability of it going on sale. That's something that I also assess. So it can backfire, right? You can look at a game like I don't know, like a game like Sleeping Dogs, right? That went on sale not long after it came out, and I snagged it, and it's one of my favorite games. Or in that instance, it's like, oh yeah, I lucked out. I grabbed it immediately. Or you can be like me and wait 2 years for RimWorld to go on sale and realize it almost never goes on sale.
Right.
So then you have to bite the bullet of, do I think it's worth the full price? So that's usually like my process. I will say for myself, I very rarely buy brand new games, $60 games. It just feels like a bad investment for me unless I know for sure it's something that I'm going to really love and enjoy. The last $60 game I bought was Pokemon Arceus, and I learned my lesson. Okay. I got to make sure that it's something I'm 100% invested in, that I know for sure that I'm going to. So, for instance, you say, well, what game would you spend $60, $70 on? If freaking, what's his name, pops up on stage and says, hey, coming out tomorrow, Elder Scrolls 6, then I'm saying, oh, okay, cool. Here's $400.
$400.
But besides that, I go through that process with a lot of games. So yeah, it's a bit involved.
I can tell. I don't go through that many processes. I don't think.
Yeah.
Externally, I don't like internally. Like I might be like, oh, this developer sucks. Like I'm staying away from them. But I don't. I guess I don't have maybe a checklist. And I'm sure do you have a checklist, like a legitimate pen and paper?
And I just kind of organically go through it. It's just a process I ended up. Yeah.
Yeah, I think my biggest things are I do listen to reviews because I don't want to buy a stinker of a game, and that's not the end all be all. Like if the game gets a 6 or a 7, which is definitely not game of the year type game, if it has intriguing setups or gameplay or story, I would definitely buy that. I think a lot of it, now that I'm talking, has to do with timing. I just mentioned 3 games. If these games come out a month from each other, I might buy all 3. I buy Octopath Traveler first, and I'm like, okay, I played enough of that. Oh, now Metroid Prime, I got to get that. So I think timing has a lot to do with it as well. And then, and going back to timing, I'm like you, Jeremy. I'm kind of the opposite in terms of if a game is a little bit older, I won't wait. Like if I don't buy a game close to release date, I'm like, well, I must have not really wanted that. So now, even though it's on sale and I did want it at a point, I'm like, well, it's gone. There's been 20 games that have come out since, this game came out, and this game's on sale, but there's 20 more new games that I want. So it'll forever be on the back burner for me. I might pick it up years later, but when I do, I don't have that anticipation to kind of play it. I'm like, I got it for $5. What investment do I really have in it? I have $5. So I'm not going to play it.
There's been the recent, now to counteract this, that's a really good point, because the process I have now developed for myself is I've been making a list of games I own that I have not played or beat. And I'm going to make myself play and beat them, because what happens is you end up backfilling your catalog with a bunch of games that you did want, you eventually got, and then aren't playing because you have another game that you actively are playing at the moment. So, if it's like, oh man, I want to go out there and find a shooter. Like for instance, I just bought BioShock Infinite on Steam. I'm like, man, I want to go ahead and play this shooter. About 3 to 4 months ago, I bought Tiny Tina's Wonderland, and I have not unwrapped the cellophane yet. You know what I'm saying? So, I think with those 2 games, it'll be a little bit different, because on BioShock Infinite, I bought it from my Steam Deck, and I'm also finding that I'm able to play games more through completion with my Steam Deck because I can bring it places with me.
Right.
So time I wouldn't be able to spend playing games, I can spend playing games. But yeah, you do run into that conundrum. So now I'm at this point where I'm like, okay, buddy, you got to start knocking out these games. And I'm going on howlongtobeat.com, and I'm seeing this is a 5-hour investment. This is a 17-hour investment. This is a 20-hour investment. I got a lot of 30, 40-hour investments. And then I get a little bit anxious, like I'm never going to beat this game. Oh my God, I'm never going to beat this game,
Right.
So yeah, that's definitely a possible folly of that whole process.
I mean, a couple things. Like, I'm definitely buying. Like, if I buy Octopath Traveler, that's the one I think I'm going to buy. I'm buying it on Steam Deck because it has that added bonus of I can be before bed playing it, laying down and playing it. So if I buy it on PlayStation, it's just going to get lost. It'll never get played.
Yeah. And with a game like that, you aren't losing a graphical experience, I would say, with Steam Deck. I think it's probably very agreeable with the Steam Deck as far as like, hardware-wise, what it takes to run it. Yeah.
Yeah.
With the Steam Deck, is it separate from your regular Steam?
No.
Nope. It's all connected. Same account.
All connected? Okay, that's cool. That's good to know.
Yep.
I also have another question. So, Jeremy, you said you're not really spending $60 to $70 on a game usually, but with Hellblade 2 coming out, are you waiting until that goes on sale?
Game Pass, baby.
It's gonna be on Game Pass, or
that's the Game Pass grab. Again, there's other. It depends, man. I rarely do, and it's always hit or miss. Like I say that right with Pokemon Arceus, right?
Mm-hmm.
That I'll never spend $60 again blind on a game ever again. The last game I did that for before Pokemon Arceus was Ghost of Tsushima. So
perfect. You love that game,
and I love that game. So it's a roll of the dice, but I do it so rarely. I'm talking about what that's like 2 games in a year, maybe that I buy brand new.
I'm about to say Pokemon Arceus. January, like last January.
Pokemon Arceus was February. Yeah, it was February, wasn't it? Like last February.
It's been over a year since you bought a full. That's impressive.
A full price game. Yeah, 100%.
It was early. It was early in the year. I know it was early. I thought it could have been late January or late February, but I'm not sure.
You might be right.
Another thing, like about playing games and just picking what game to play. Game Pass is kind of a foil for me because I kind of told you, like, I need that monetary investment to like push myself. So I find myself, I barely beat any Game Pass games. They're all just like taste to me. Like I play a little bit, like, okay, I see what this game is about. Even if I was really into the game, like there'll be games where I'm like, man, I should have bought this on PlayStation so I'd play it because it's on Xbox. I won't touch it. It's on Game Pass. I know it's there. I just have no incentive. Like I said, I pay $10 a month for Game Pass. It doesn't feel like anything. So it's like, it's kind of gone.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think, Game Pass games. What Game Pass games have I beat? I've had, there's some in there. Gears Tactics was one.
Okay.
That's like a couple years ago. But there's been other ones, but that is a good point though. That can definitely, again, we were talking about that those are options for games that you may not have to buy. Like you may have bought, you still can buy, but you may have bought Mountain Blade Bannerlord when it came to console. You just fire up Game Pass if you want to play it,
Yeah.
Yeah. David, did you have any other thoughts on that? Like you had mentioned kind of like your buying process is more on recommendations, word of mouth. So not much like reviewer. Like we're talking like, official place like an IGN or a
like friends or, somebody I follow on social media, stuff like that. No, I hardly ever look at reviews. I don't care if I had 10 stars or 2 stars.
Yeah.
If one of my friends recommends it and I'm like, yeah, it might be all right. I'll get it. I don't care. But like the Game Pass stuff, I'm thinking about it. I'm kind of upset because I don't have Hellblade in Control anymore because I stopped paying for Game Pass. So now I either have to get Game Pass again or go buy the games and start over.
Yeah, you know what? That's what ended up happening. Speaking of that it result in the sale for me of Surge 2. Like when I first played Surge 2, I played it on Game Pass. And I liked it so much, I'm like, oh, I just want to buy and own it. So I ended up buying it for Steam and playing it that way. So that was cool. But I would also say another thing that may be part of my process, if it's a game I've never heard of and that's completely like out of my wheelhouse, there are a few YouTube reviewers that I do trust to like, look at the reviews. Let's see. One guy, Skill Up. He's one that I go to. At one point there was a Upper Echelon Gaming, I think is his name. That was a person. Possibly sometimes Angry Joe. So I'll go to them and check out and just try to get a sense, especially if they're like games that they play that I'm also adjacent to an interest. Like, hey, this game kind of looks like Halo, and I know this person has a certain opinion of Halo that I share. They may be able to bring some insight to it. So, certain things like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But